Excellent. Hello, good afternoon, and thank you for joining Insight Legal for this webinar. My name is Josh Dallywell, and I'm one of the three hosts on this call today, and I'm kindly joined by my colleagues Andy Butler and Simon Emery, and we're going to be talking about how can workflows optimize your law firm productivity. Okay. Andy is somebody that some of you may already be familiar with, especially if you're kind of Insight clients. And I'm also joined by Simon, who joins us from the workflow implementation team. So that was a bit of a mouthful. All wits. I should probably kind of shorten that to they're affectionately known. Good afternoon, guys.
Yes.
Okay, right. So what have we got in store for you today? It's a kind of a fairly full agenda, but just before I go into that, I'm just going to quickly share our contact details with you so you can see, but also you've got the opportunity to reach out to us with any questions. I also do have my colleague Nathan on the call, who will be monitoring the chat. So if you've got any questions, then please feel free to send them through the Q&A or chat function within Zoom, and we'll try and address as many of those during the actual call itself. In case we run over time, then again we will follow up with everybody individually on those as well. Okay, I should also mention the webinar is being recorded, hence the reason why I've put a nice clean shirt on today, and we'll be making copies of the video recording available to everyone who has registered. Okay, now in terms of, I guess, kind of the agenda for the next half an hour or so, we're going to start by talking about kind of what are workflows, what is the purpose of a workflow, and then I will at some point be handing over to my colleague Andy to talk us through a demo of one of our out-of-the-box workflows. I think you've got one on conveyancing today, Andy, is that correct?
Just conveyancing today, yeah, a residential purchase.
Perfect. And then we'll kind of bring in Simon to talk about what are some of the other out-of-the-box workflows we have and how he and I guess the team that he works with go about customizing those for clients. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, please feel free to ask any questions. Any questions you do ask only get seen by myself and my fellow panelists, so please.
I'm on already.
In confidence. Okay. Now, many of you join this call will have some understanding of workflows, whether you use them in your current or previous roles. Often when people talk about workflows, they understand them to be a set process made up of a clearly defined or clearly predefined individual tasks to be sometimes completed in a linear fashion. And those tasks may involve multiple people, both external and internal, and integrations with other systems. Okay. Now, what people are often unclear on is what the full range of purposes and benefits of a workflow are. Okay, I'm going to run through kind of some of those here, and what kind of everyone associates with a workflow traditionally is control. Okay, you have a set of tasks you want to have completed in a set order, and the outcome of one task may have an impact on the rest of the workflow. Okay, now taking a very simple example, you want to ensure that until all the AML checks have been done, you don't want to start work on a matter. Or has the client deposited the required funds which enable you to start work on their case? Okay. Workflows are also incredibly important in guiding a user through the proper course of actions to take. We know, for example, that many firms will rely on support staff, interns, paralegals, etc., to undertake some of the initial work on a matter, which might involve carrying out checks, sending out a welcome pack. So they can be made to be quite prescriptive in their approach as well. Not only can workflows ensure that an individual is responsible for completing tasks, but also work can be delegated either to a team or a department that could be because of a heavy workload, or in the absence of a team member due to sickness or holiday leave. So those outstanding tasks can be looked after. Anyone taking over a workflow from one member of the firm can instantly see what tasks have been completed, what's still outstanding, and what needs working on next. You can also integrate workflows with other software, for example, initiating a search on conveyancing matters or completing forms. So typically, whether you want to complete an AP1 or TR1 or IHT, these can be completed and submitted as part of a workflow. And where the data already sits within your case management or is a piece of user-defined data, it will pre-populate that information on the required form. Okay, I want to talk about kind of these next two together, expedite and automate. Automation in workflows helps reduce or cut down quite menial, sometimes quite repetitive tasks that we end up, we kind of normally, undertake in our working lives. And often we do those kind of without paying too much attention to them until somebody shows us another way. Producing documents, for example, can be automated. You can reach a certain point in a workflow where a document, for example, needs to be produced. It needs inputting sets of data points, reference numbers, client name, address, matter details. The document might need converting to PDF and then emailing out. If there's no specialist set of fee earner skills required to produce that document, then why can't it be automated? Say it takes you traditionally 10 minutes to produce each letter manually, and the automation reduces that to 2 minutes. Well, that's kind of 8 minutes saved. You multiply that by the 30 or documents or letters you produce each week, and you've saved yourself 4 hours, of which I'm sure a lot of that is very valuable time. I'm sure for many of you, time is money, and money is time. So being able to expedite tasks in matters frees up your time to work on the elements of your job that earn you the fees. Okay, and finally, being able to track and measure how long a process takes from start to completion can help you understand the profitability of the work you do. You can report on how many matters you have at any point in time, what stage they're at. Do you have matters that are not progressing because the workload is too much for one person, so they need delegating? Is certain work taking longer than anticipated, so you need to reevaluate the fees on that? In addition, you can set up reminders that certain tasks need to be completed in, for example, X number of days from the file opening. And once you've reached stage Y, that an alert is sent out to the fee earner, department head, etc. Say, this file is now ready for you to take over. Okay. Now, I guess kind of that's really kind of just a quick introduction into workflow for those of you who kind of, I guess, aren't already familiar with these. I want to bring in my colleague Andy at this point to show you one of our out-of-the-box workflows. Andy, is there anything that you want to add to what I've already kind of discussed here before you go ahead with your live demo?
No, Josh, I think you've mentioned all the benefits there. So all I'll do now is just show the actual workflow itself, how it works.
Brilliant. Have you got screen share control here?
I do indeed. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so everyone, what I'm going to show you now is just 10 minutes of a workflow, right? In my opinion, to see this at its absolute best, you'd have your own demo. I wouldn't show a purchase workflow to a matrimonial firm, right? And Simon will speak after me about the workflows we have. When I just show you sort of the processes we're going through, that's the thing to focus on. If you're not a conveyancer, don't worry about sort of the language and the things you can see on the screen. It's the actual processes and the benefit and the point of those that everyone needs to pay attention to. Okay, so where we are now, everyone, I know there's new and old people on our call today. So I'll just sort of give you a bit of an introduction. Cases, case inquiry. This is where you go to work as a fee earner, whether it's simply looking at a client's matter viewing the ledger, looking at a client's contact details. It's also where you're going to go to produce documents, view your already stored documents, and ultimately what we're going to talk about today, the workflow. So the workflow, everyone, contains a lot of the standard features that a lot of people on the call will already have. So document production, Outlook integration, capturing of your user data, contact linking. What it also comes with, some brand new features. There is legal form preparation. So as Josh mentioned, for me, AP1, EX160, everything like that, right? Your IHT forms. Key date reminders are a part of this, automatic reminders. Portal form sharing, which is a whole nother conversation. I think we're going to do a follow-up webinar on our portal. And also search integration, right? And let me just take you through some of these points in the remaining time we've got. So the workflow, at a really simple explanation, is a to-do list. And it's a to-do list that's defined by you, just built to your specification, which Simon's going to touch on again. And like I say, it really is a to-do list. The way this works is there's two tabs in the bottom right-hand corner, and those tabs are labeled tasks, which is where the work is completed from. There's a tab next to it, which reads phases, which if you think of these as like chapters of a book. And when a phase here is marked as being active, it means you have tasks that need doing. We work through these tasks and we complete them, which we're going to do in a moment. Once you've completed all of the tasks within the phase will automatically mark itself as being complete. The next phase will mark itself as being active, and you're then presented new things to do, right? There's lots of sort of work here where this integrates with our portal. So if you want to sort of update your client where your matter's at, you'll be able to link the phases to the portal. Some firms like that, some firms don't. I've had that conversation a few times, but that's another thing that I can speak to you about rather than sort of everyone on the call now. With these tasks, these will just make your life easier, and they'll just accelerate some of the time-sensitive jobs that you have to do. So very first thing here, producing a set of welcome pack documents. There's 4 documents here. You could have 2, you could have 10, right? This is just part of the document production feature, which is part of Office 365. Click Produce All. Insight will say, here are the 4 documents I'm going to make for you at this time. If any one of the documents has some detail missing, you've asked it to pull through, within the tab that reads in red font, user-defined data, it will say, this is what you're missing. If I just key in a property value now, it's, okay, so a bit of a weird number. Document production, this icon will prepare the document. They've all been created for us now. And in real life, you probably go through all of them. Just for the sake of the demo, if I open up the very first one with you, it's a typical letter that everyone's seen a million times before. There's the value that I keyed in, right? Everything else, dates, names, references, will pull through. A lot of the people on the call have this feature already, okay? Of course, you'll make any change you need to. You'll save it, you'll quit it. Mark that job as being complete. And those documents, firstly, will live forever within your Matter Files tab. And when we look in the top right at our completed tasks, it sits as a completed task. When Josh was talking about sort of measuring this and viewing history, clicking on this icon here, you can view the history. You can see when it was set, who completed it. If it was reassigned and moved from me to you, you can see that as well. If a task is ever done incorrectly, you can reset and reactivate it. Just talking about some of these features now while we're here. With this arrow here, everyone, you can also dismiss tasks. So something that's really great about the workflows within Insight, they're not necessarily strict, right? And kind of a liquid where you can't move around them in a different order. When there's jobs that aren't required, for example, if this was a private sale, you may not have a memorandum, right? You can dismiss a task. So rather than sort of fobbing it off and entering a blank document or saying, yeah, it's completed, you can just get rid of it rather than leave it there. In my case here, this is simply a document my workflow wants me to attach to it. That could just as easily read attach proof of ID, proof of address, so on. Within my Outlook, if we pretend that this is the memorandum, you simply drag, drop, and complete the action. Okay, that is again another completed task, and it lives within my Matter files. To view that tomorrow, next year, if I'm at home and my boss is in the office, you go into the same file, you double click, and it presents to you the saved document. A next task, so another task, again, just sort of an accelerated function or feature of what a lot of people on the call have now, the Office or the Outlook integration. This is a template, so who it's going to, the subject line, the actual wording in the email, dear title, surname, your signature will all be there for you. All I need to do is attach those documents that I've already prepared to the email. So if I just drag those into the relevant boxes and launch my email, this is again an email that everyone's seen a million times before. The auto time recording can play a part here if you'd like. It's another part of the workflows. And when this opens up, it will simply be an email with the recipient there, the subject line, the attachment, the body, and in real life, your signature would be there. If you look at the attachments, Insight can automatically turn them into a PDF at time of sending. So if I show you this client care, it's going to have that same value in, right? And my highlighting, but it now exists as a PDF. If I change the name of this to read,
sorry, I was going to say there was a slight overestimation in my thoughts there in terms of reducing the amount of time spent on producing a letter down to 2 minutes, but you've obviously produced multiple letters and got them ready to send out in an email converted into PDF within, just a matter of just a few minutes.
Yeah, and there's no, thanks Josh, and there's no manual, I don't need to manually change it to be a PDF. As part of the workflow, when you send certain documents, if you would like, they will be manipulated to a PDF. Where I've changed the wording on my email sits here. I double click on my email tomorrow or in 2 years' time, and it will appear. Okay. Very quickly, just finishing up on this, all of my completed tasks will continue to live there. When I show you my phases, introduction is now complete, gather info is now active, and I've got many more tasks to do. Okay, and I've got there's lots of things over on questions, which will have variable outcomes, recording user data, and ensuring that your staff record required data that you'd like them to, linking of contacts, Insight directing you to sort of external links you may wish. This also comes that I won't show everyone today, searches. This integrates with our portal. There's lots more to it, but I think just for today, I'll leave it there. I'd like to, when we do these demos, normally we sort of very much tailor them to the person that we're speaking to. So thanks everyone. That's my part.
Excellent, brilliant. Thanks, Andy. And obviously that workflow you've just kind of run through is a residential purchase. And
yes,
we also have just in conveyancing, we also have workflows for sale, remortgage, and I guess Simon and his colleagues have also been working on one or a set of workflows for commercial conveyancing, which I think is that finished yet, Simon, or is it soon to be finished?
It's soon to be finished. We're just in the testing phases, so we can make sure that it goes to our customers in the perfect working state. But yeah, there'll be 4 new workflows for commercial.
But yeah, hopefully we'll be able to at least kind of show those to people as of next week, or at least be able to kind of run through it, kind of the format for those. Okay, brilliant. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, we have a number of workflows available out of the box for enterprise customers, and you can see the list on the screen. So yeah, we've just added commercial conveyancing, or we're going to be adding commercial conveyancing to residential. Yeah, I think you can either choose to use those kind of out of the box, but obviously, again, one of the things that Simon and the workflow implementation team do is obviously to help tailor those to your exact firm's requirements. So if anybody has any questions and would like to see the kind of the map or flow of any of these out-of-the-box workflows, then please feel free to reach out to us. I will again be sharing mine and the team's contact details at the end of this webinar. Okay. Now, I guess, Simon, I guess you've worked on, I guess talking about kind of customized workflows, I think you've worked on a claims workflow recently, which I think was a very bespoke piece of work for a client. But you've also done more kind of simple file opening ones as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've recently just worked on the claims one, and now just recently created, and I think it's ready to start being rolled out, just a basic file opening for some of the departments that maybe we don't particularly cover at the moment. But as well, we've developed the employment one and worked on a few personal injury as well. So we've worked not just within the realms of what we have, but creating bespoke work for customers with things that we haven't got in out of the box.
Sure, and I'm guessing they can vary in terms of their complexity, because I can imagine a file opening one being very, very different to, you know, a fully fledged claims one, which is, how many steps did that one have in it?
The claims one, I believe, had it was about 300 different steps, whereas the basic file opening was about 25.
Okay. Okay, excellent. I guess on that note, I'm going to hand over to you to screen share. Yeah, do you want to kind of start off by telling us a little bit about what your role involves?
Absolutely. So as Josh has said, I'm one of the workflow implementation consultants, and my job here is to build and maintain our current workflows and any new workflows for our customers. That may not be just building something brand new for them, but it could be amending something that we already have to fit their needs a little bit more. So we've currently just done something for a client in Northern Ireland where the residential conveyancing doesn't quite fit the way that they work out there. So we're able to now amend the way that the workflow works to more suit a Northern Ireland environment. And it's our job to understand our customers' requirements, what their needs are, so we can tailor the workflows to them if necessary. We can build them from scratch, from the ground up, with the customer, of course, or we can just hand over one of our pre-builts, which has everything in it ready to go, in which you can just hit the ground running from the day that they're imported into your system.
And do you have an idea of how many of our customers use workflows, or sorry, how many of our customers who already use workflows or use our workflows use them out of the box compared to how many of them need some kind of editing, customization?
So I'd say out of the large majority of people do want some amendments, but that we do have a handful, I'd probably say about 20 users, which just like to get the workflow and just start using it as it is. They've never really had any consistency or continuity in the way they work, and having those put in gives them a way to work around. Others who already have that in place want us to amend that around there.
Perfect. And do you have anything you can show us in terms of how easy it is to customize a workflow in Insight?
I do indeed. Yes, I can show you that right now. So just like with Andy, I've also got my residential purchase workflow just up here. And this is what the workflow, some of the steps that Andy took you through looks like in back end of the system where we make it. And to make those, we can add all sorts of tasks. And if we want to add additional ones, it's very easy for us to just put something in if we need it. So at the top, we would add something, click on the add task. We're then giving it a code which helps it stay within the order of the workflow and give it its own individual name, as you need to know what that needs to be. And then we have a list of actions that we can pull into this section that will enable you to perform those particular tasks in the workflow. So we have the ones that we've shown earlier, which is producing a document. We can literally drag that and drop that into this space. And then we pick the document that we wish to have sat in here, which could be our file closing form. we just drag that up into that space, name the action, and then we can save it, and that action now has been put into our workflow. We can also, if we needed to, very quickly link a contact. So if we need to add a contact to that matter, we bring that task over. We select whether or not they might be organization, person, or either or, and then we select the relationship that we need to link. So we would select that, add in any of the communication and address items. We quickly add those in. Once we hit save at the top, and we go into, and when you start a brand new workflow, those new actions will be sat in there for you, ready to go. So it is that easy just to drag, drop, and pull items in to the workflow to make it more customizable to your needs.
Excellent. And Simon, I think I guess if my understanding is correct, we will often kind of talk this through with the customer, over a Zoom call such as this. So in the future, if they want to be able to amend the workflows themselves, they can do that. So they get the training in that, so they don't have to come to you or one of the other members of the team there to be able to amend a workflow every time they want to make a change.
Yeah, absolutely. We encourage all of our new customers to learn how to make amendments to the workflow, so they aren't just reliant on us as well. However, if they do need our support, we are absolutely here to help them, but we will deliver training at their request to show them how to make these amendments so that they can be empowered and do it themselves.
Excellent. And I'm not the most technical person here, and so a lot of this looks to me like kind of drag and drop. So I guess there's, I guess a lot of people will be looking for some reassurance that they don't need to be able to be technical in nature or be able to code to be able to amend the workflow.
No, not at all. It is just a series of either drag and drops, and it's made so that anyone can pick it up. It's been built around being as customer friendly as we can make it, so to give them the power to make changes.
And what should somebody do if they make a mistake?
If they make a mistake, then the best thing to do is not to save. If they're worried that they've made a mistake, you can, if we're still before we save, is to remove things so we can quickly pull those out and delete them out. And if you were to not to save, obviously that wouldn't put it through. However, if you were to have accidentally saved and a mistake has been made, then you're more than welcome to contact the support and workflow team. We'd be happy to support and resolve that.
That's very reassuring. Excellent. Okay, right. Okay, so let me just pick up on a couple of other things that I want to quickly go through. So I guess, really let's quickly talk about what is the end goal with workflows. Ultimately, it should help you speed up working through a matter by delegating responsibility for tasks in a way that is automated and doesn't always rely on a human to say, right now I've finished my part, now you're ready to take over the next set of tasks. Okay, especially if you've got multiple people working on a file at its various stages. The efficiency also should bring cost savings. It allows fee earners to focus more of their time on higher value tasks, but also ensure that you as a firm can handle a larger caseload. You reduce risk by ensuring that regardless of who is completing the tasks, that the correct process is followed and documents are templated and they are sent out at the right stage. With automation, you can also standardize and optimize this process to ensure that every matter is submitted any documents are submitted with all the right information every time. Imagine how much time can be saved when the involved parties working on a particular matter don't have to be tracked down and followed up for any omitted information. And simplifying the matter intake. Workflows begin with, it means that every task can be completed by the business stakeholder. And obviously you include questions to prompt the user to submit all the necessary data and documents as part of the workflow. Okay, I'm conscious that we are running a little bit behind time. We have time for a few quick questions, and Andy, Simon, please feel free to jump in with any of your thoughts on these. So yeah, I think kind of some of these, I guess we've already kind of covered. One of them is, what if the workflow we want isn't available from your out-of-the-box list? And absolutely, as Simon mentioned just very briefly earlier on, there are workflows that we work on and create for customers, and they can vary in complexity, from whether it just be a file opening one to something that is far more complex, very much like the 300-step claims workflow that we've just created as a bespoke project for a customer. And again, another question that's come in here is, can we create our own workflows, or do you have to? I think, yeah, exactly. I think where we would like to get to with all of our customers is for them to be able to feel confident in creating their workflows. And I think in the initial stages, you know, whether that be through training or kind of, I guess, kind of hand-holding, we'll work with you to ensure that you kind of are comfortable with the knowledge that you have to be able to start creating your own workflows. And again, the support team here are available and at hand to be able to kind of, yeah, again, really kind of hold your hand through that process until you kind of feel comfortable with it. Okay, just going to have a quick check to see if there's any other questions that have come through that I may have missed. I can see kind of a few others, but yeah, again, ensuring that we keep to time, I will try and address those kind of after this call. I want to say a quick thank you to everybody who's joined us for this live session. As I mentioned earlier on, a recording of this session will be made available to everybody who's registered, so please keep an eye out for that. If anybody would like to discuss workflows and how they could work for your organization, then please feel free to drop us an email, either drop me an email directly or to the webinars team at webinars@insightlegal.co.uk. And yeah, we'll be happy to run through a live demonstration of workflows or any of our other enterprise features with you. Quick thank you again to everybody who's participated, but also a thank you to my fellow panelists, Andy and Simon, and also for Nathan for keeping an eye on